Vroom, 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 vroom. Honk, honk. Get in, losers. We're going struggling. Vroom, 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 vroom. Hello, friends, and welcome to another ride in the Struggle Bus, where every goal is meant to triangle. Recently, I got to play in a tournament, which was a lot of fun. I have not gotten to play in many over the years that I've played Go. This is actually only my third. But my local Go club hosted an event at a pretty cool place. We ended up getting, I think, like 32 players, which was pretty fantastic. Got to play 4 really good games of Go. And so the intent is for this video and the next few videos, we're going to be going over those games in order from round 1 through 4. So this is only the third tournament that I've gotten to play in. First one was many years ago, and second one was actually earlier this year. My rank really hasn't caught up with where I am yet. I think I'm still technically a 3K AGA. For this event, I talked to the tournament organizer, we decided to put me in as a 2K player. We potentially could have put me in as a 1K as well, but I wasn't quite sure, and so we settled on 2K, and that seemed about accurate enough. Either way, we got to play 4 really fun games of Go, and they were all fairly good and all had some good teachable moments. So I figured it'd be a good thing to mix things up and go over those games here. So with that introduction out of the way, let's jump right into the first game. Okay, so going into this round, as I mentioned, there were about 32 people, and I think there were 1 or 2 other 2K players. There were a lot of 1K players, and then a couple 1-dan, 2-dan. It was actually a pretty fairly good spread. There were about 10 in each bracket of Dan players, single-digit Q players, and double-digit Q players. The format of the tournament, the time settings were 25 minutes plus 10-second Fisher time for both players. So the games are actually a little quicker than I'm normally used to. I still haven't quite gotten fully used to Fisher time. You still have plenty of time to play the whole game, but it is fairly easy to run short on time and get to a point where you really only have 10 seconds or so to make a move before you start really losing out on time. Additionally, the handicap system was set at handicap -1, meaning it gave a slight advantage to the stronger player. So if you played somebody who was 3 ranks above you, instead of getting 2 stones, you would only get your normal handicap, but they wouldn't get Comey. If you played somebody 4 ranks above you, instead of getting 3 stones, you would get 2. So again, it slants it a little bit towards the stronger player. I'm totally on board with that, and that was pretty much it. So round 1, I got to play against a guy named Austin. He and I played in the final round of the tournament I played earlier in the year, and he crushed me. So I was really hoping to do a little bit better against him this time. Austin is a 1K player, and as I said, he kind of smoked me the game before. That's really all the information I had on him. But that was our opponent for the first game. I was black. He was white with 7.5 point Comey. So anyway, let's get into this game. So I was black this game. I typically like playing mini Chinese, and so that is what I tried to do here. What that typically aims to do is if white backs off, we'll go play here, and it kind of turns it into a Moyo style game. Invites a lot of fighting because white will eventually have to jump in. But Austin decided to be a little more dynamic. He jumped in first. We just played the Kosumi to stay strong. Then he made a 2-point extension just to make a base, and we did the double approach on the 4/4 stone because he had not replied to our F3 stone yet. He chose to attach to the left stone, which is fine. We played the Hane. He extended, we extended, he attached. So far, pretty normal stuff. I played the Hane. He played the Hane, I played the Atari, he connected, and then I connected here, which apparently does not follow Joseki. There's a lot of variations for this double approach. I've been studying them as I can because this is something I want to become more comfortable with, both as the white player here or the black player. Looking it up afterwards, I guess we're supposed to jump in here, but honestly, still a perfectly fine move. Austin then decided to play b4 to take the corner. I was surprised at this move. I don't like that it leaves this cut here because there's potential for c2 to be really annoying because it can look to connect at e2 or connect at c4. So I was a little surprised by that. I thought he was either going to extend out or just play this. Either way, white's kind of got awkward shape. I felt fine with this. So white made this base, and we made this base because there is a cut here that we need to be very mindful of. There's also a cut here that we need to be mindful of as well, but this is only one stone, so it's not that big of a deal. He took his time to go play Etsunuki and approached our 4-4. We did back off, and we could have ignored this as well, but I typically do back off when my 4-4s get approached. He attached, and we did this variation, which hopefully you guys all know and love at this point in time. It's a very common variation in this post-AI world. So I Haned, white Haned, we Atari, white connects. We have the option of either connecting or playing the Hane. This is kind of the same move, or extending in. And I did consider extending in so that I could push this stone towards the strength over here. But at the end of the day, I did just play the typical variation. White is hard, we connected, white extended, and then we took our sente and approached the final corner, doing so playing away from our strength here to look to potentially develop the top. Austin pincers us, and then we jump into the 3-3 and do this variation, which is also one that we should all know and love at this point in time. So for the most part, this is very, very standard Fuseki stuff. It's possible that you guys don't know the variations for this double approach. We certainly didn't, because we messed things up a little bit, but it was still fine. And then hopefully you guys know the variation in the top left and this top right, because these are the ones that do show up in our games quite a bit. So now the board's kind of set up. And now we're going to be transitioning into middle game, where we're really going to be looking at strength of groups and building and reducing potential. Those are the two key factors that we're looking into when we transition into the middle game. So here, there's some obvious potential on the right-hand side if black hits an extension over here. So Austin decided to take that away from us. I considered just playing on top, but decided to make this exchange first and then play on top. Most likely a mistake, but seemed okay. He extended, we jumped. He extended, we extended. He jumps, and now we are back to having sente. This cut is not an issue because let's just say we play away and white looks to cut. Obviously, we will be able to get that stone, and this isn't an issue. We have enough liberties to be able to run with this group. That is why I was able to jump in the first place and then be okay with just having these two stones. So I did take my sente and decided to play this turn here just to look to develop the potential on the left while also reducing the potential of this corner. We could potentially look at this top side as well, but here when you've got opposing third line stones, where you have a third line stone facing a third line stone of one of your opponents, typically that means there's going to be no potential at the top. There's just not going to be a lot of points, or whatever side you're looking at. So I didn't really consider that. I instead decided I wanted to get a nice fourth line stone to help build off of this third line stone. So Austin responded by playing the Hane here. Really no choice. We have to extend with this stone. And then he goes and approaches our three stones here. At this point in time, I was a little worried about the cut because now if we ignore, we've got some potential fight or getting chased, attacked that I really wasn't on board with. And so I decided to play this capping move, which fixes the cut. If white wants to take the cut now, there's a ladder that white has to deal with that goes into our strength that we built up on the other side. So that was the intent of this move, while also making sure that this group couldn't very easily run into the center. So white then ignored this move and extended one more time on this side. I was pretty surprised at this move. I don't think it did too much, and even looking back at it, I still don't really see the intent of this move. I of course did consider just playing the local response, which gets us really good shape, but I don't think this move warrants a response. I think we are fine on the top, and the bottom area I think is still more important. And so I decided to press this group down, white blocked, and then I felt really smart by being able to get this fantastic reduction on this group while building some fantastic influence in the center. I was expecting the normal response, which is where white wedges, we Atari, and then typically we'd have to fix one of these two cuts. This cut's already fixed, and so we could look at something like this. And how fantastic is this for black? So again, I really liked this plan. Unfortunately, I did that thing where I was like, yeah, this is great, but you got to think about it from your opponent's perspective. If this is really good for you, it's not good for them, so they might find a better way to answer this. And so once I played here, I kind of started looking at the board a little harder, especially since my opponent was giving some thought to this move, and I realized he's going to play J4, which is going to be really annoying. And J4 is where he played. The issue with this is now this cut does work, because if we play here, white gets to play this, and now my group is cut off. And so, and if I fix this, then white can play here, or something similar. White could play here. And so I had to. I gave this move in particular a lot of thought. I probably spent a few minutes on this move because I realized that a mistake had been made, and I needed to figure out if it was worth sacrificing these 4 stones or not. And I didn't think it was, but it's possible that, you know, at the time I was trying to figure out, do I want to sacrifice those stones to get some good strength in the center? At the end, I decided that it wasn't worth that, and I was going to connect here. And I had a plan. I was expecting white to either play this Atari. I was expecting white to play this Atari, at which point I was going to play this Hane. And this is how the game ended up going. Basically, this plan now was I played H5 to get this group nice and strong, and then played this Hane so that I could look at attacking these 2 stones. If I'm able to kill these 2 stones, then that's huge. It's huge. And either way, it's going to weaken these stones, and that should help develop the center or get this group stronger. So that was the plan here. That was basically the deciding factor of how do I respond to this. I decided that I could get strength here and then play this Hane to attack these stones. So white saw the threat that this was posing and decided to extend. I took this time to take the Atari and then extend to try to make it difficult for this group to live so that I could then still continue to get strength in the center. Looking at this with AI, this was the first big mistake of the game, but honestly, I would have never found this move, and the sequence was just kind of AI silliness. But the recommended move is here so that white can break into the center. If black decides to connect, white has this kind of silliness where white can do this driving to Suji, and then play here, which threatens this cut, which comes with a double Atari, and then threatens to connect here and kill these 4 stones. I'm sure you guys saw this. It's easy to see, right? It's a really straightforward 19 move variation that I'm surprised that you guys didn't see. Anyway, my opponent certainly didn't see it. I would have never seen it. And so my opponent captured. I then just played on the outside. White connects to get an eye. I block on the outside. White descends. I connect, and then white plays here to get a second eye. But honestly, like, this felt pretty great. This got what at the end of the day, this got what I wanted to get. I wanted to get influence, and we succeeded at that. There are 2 cuts that we need to potentially worry about. But we still have these 3 stones that we can go after. So I decided to extend to play S4 to look to take the base away. And our friends played this Hane. I now play a pretty embarrassingly bad move. I should have known it was bad because I end up playing an empty triangle. Though the correct move is also an empty triangle. Sometimes you just have to play them. But I ended up cutting here. And I knew that white had this, and if I saved this, then to kill those 2 stones. But that if white played here, I would connect, and then white would capture. But at this point in time, what I missed is after this, I would still have to connect here. And if I was just going to need to connect there, then I should just connect here now and save the move because I would never want to play O3 here. So I kind of lost a move there when I played this. So it did go this way. But what's nice is now we have a group that we can potentially attack and chase because this group is no longer alive. So if we block white's access to the center, we'll be able to build the center while white struggles to live, potentially. Of course, we have a weakness here as well and a potential cut here. So we need to be careful. Of course, this cut is absolutely what we need to take care of first. And then black jumped here. I connected here or attached here, which does a couple things. Thing one, it threatens to take this ko. It also protects this cut. So white played here, and I connected. Now this really threatens the ko, because if white plays away, and we play here, now if white connects, we can do a ko to get these 4 stones. And obviously, if white captures, then it's just a ko, and so white needs to be careful about it. So this move does look horrifically ugly, but AI was like, that's actually an okay move. My friend didn't want the ko. I don't know why. So he protected this. I mentioned while we were playing in the game that I was like, okay, I actually told him, I was like, okay, one more move that's going to make us throw open our mouths a little bit, and then we can continue on with the game. So I played this double empty triangle to force him to, just play this peep to force him to connect there. And now we both just have disgusting shape, and that is fine. So I decided to play this move. The intent of this move is there's this cut at R9 that I really wanted to take. Because if we play here, it threatens a ladder on this stone. And if white protects, then we can do this and capture these 3 stones. The issue is you'll notice with that ladder, the arrow that I drew points right to this stone. So I played here as a ladder breaker and also pressing on this stone with the hopes that if we made some kind of exchange over here, I could push through and go and capture this stone. White was having none of that, though, and just connected here. And I was like, okay, you got me. But this is still a great stone to have on this board. But we're at a point now where my group also is not alive, so we need to make sure that I stay ahead. Decided to attach. He haned, we extended, he extended, I extended, he extended, and I played this peep. This peep is terrible. Now, when I teach, when I teach players, I make sure to point out, like, hey, don't just play peeps to play them. Make sure that the move that you're playing has value and that it's, the move is doing something. I thought that this move was going to do something to help, strengthen this left side. But of course, white's not just going to play here. White pushed. And then we extended and white extended. And then I realized, I was like, oh, I'm just in a lot of trouble here. And so I had to turn and knew that this cut was coming. And this is probably the biggest mistake, one of the biggest mistakes I make in the game. There are 2 big mistakes I make in this game. And I think this is the first really big one. I should have just realized that these stones were dead at this point in time. I should have just pushed on the outside and gotten strength for the important group. Just realized, like, yep, okay, his group's alive, and that's fine. But instead, I decided to try to save these 2 stones. that gives white the opportunity to play J8, which is just like a back-breaking move. But you'll notice that when I clicked here, that number showed up. So this is not where our friend played, luckily. Here, he finally connects. This was probably the biggest mistake of the game. But this whole sequence was laden with mistakes. But either way, I was like, okay, we're done here. I'm just going to push, and which constantly threatens to kill these stones. We can even push one more time, which was nice. But at this point in time, we're done, and we need to move on. But getting this in Sente is not so bad. But we still have this weak group that we kind of have to deal with. There's this Hane that I was talking about earlier, and it felt like a really good time to play this move, and so this is where I played. And the second I played this, I realized that I had made a huge mistake because I had forgotten about this group, and that this group isn't loving life too much here. And this is what happens when you get multiple weak groups. But yeah, I'd forgotten that I still really needed to play a move over here. So this Hane was probably my biggest mistake of the game. I probably just needed to play something like this or this, any shape move over here to connect my stones up. But I didn't do that. I played this Hane, and the second he played this move, I knew I was in a lot of trouble. So I played the Hane, he played the double Hane, and we did the Atari and the Atari. But that leaves this move open. And I thought for sure he was going to play this move, and this just would have been backbreaking. I don't know how I would have gotten out of this. I think white would have probably had a pretty easy game if he found this move. I was very surprised that he played this, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he was worried about. There is potential for this to be annoying, but white can always just play here to live in the corner, and this is going to be a Liberty race, but one that I'm pretty sure that white's going to win. But it does take a lot of reading, so maybe it is that simple. It looked too dangerous. But either way, I felt fortunate that my opponent played here. We were able to block and connect and then capture, and now everything is nice and connected, and we can continue playing our game of Go. So our friend has Sente. I think his move is going to be very unsurprising. He plays the Hane, similar to the Hane that I played here, looking to get some strength. This is kind of responding to this move. I considered playing something like this or this, but I did decide to respond to this with the Hane. He extended, I extended, he extended, I extended. He played here. I decided to take the Hane at the head of 3. I do think if he had extended or played the Hane, but if he had extended, I probably would have done something like this. So this timing seems reasonable. But so I decided to do the Hane at the head of 3 and then connect up, and he connected here. So one fun thing, I realize this happens more in live games than online, but it can happen in both. But I know that it's happened to you guys. It certainly happened to me, and it happened to my opponent here, where you're playing a game of Go, there's a lot going on, and then your opponent plays a move that makes it clear that they've been reading something for a while, and now you have to figure it out. And it's possible that it's been there for 20 moves and they've been reading it for 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden they play the move, and it is on you to figure it out quickly. That's kind of what happened with my opponent here when I played this move. I had been looking at something for a long while, and so I played here. And I'm curious how you guys respond to this move. If you want to pause it and take a look and see how you'd respond to this, let me know, because this one's a little tricky, but not too tricky. I think you guys can figure out what this move is looking to do. But in playing this, it looks like it threatens the livelihood of this group, right? If white ignores, it looks like we can, do something like this, but white can just get an eye here. We play here and do this. Again, it looks like we mess it up, but we don't. White can still get an eye. So there's actually nothing there. But what this move does do is if white answers incorrectly by playing something like h1, now it turns on this really gross move that I pointed at earlier, right? This has always been there. I've been looking at it for a while. I probably should have just played this move first, but playing here, I really wanted to put the pressure on this group. I wanted this stone first. But yeah, we were able to play here, and now this move's just really hard to answer. White descends, we get to connect here. And now all of a sudden, a corner that was probably white's, probably should have been white's. Now white gets 0 points there, and we ended up getting like 8 points. So a really, really big swing here. Once this happened, I counted, and I thought that I was ahead. So this kind of seemed like a tipping point in this game for me. But it was still, my counting was still really close. My counting isn't always accurate. And even worse than that, we get this in Sente because white's locally dead, so white needs to connect. So we got to get this and get it in Sente. And now at this point in time, we pretty much just go into endgame. This felt like a really strong move to really continue to develop the left side. I didn't think that we could really develop the top, especially with the cut at J14, though I was trying to figure out if this was a bigger move. These were the two moves I considered. I took one, and my opponent took the other side. And so that's perfectly fine. I still think this is a larger move. So now we just kind of transition into endgame. That's really where we're at. So we're going to be looking at where are our big sensei moves on the second line, third line, and then, eventually we'll be playing our first line moves. So I decided to play here. Our friend does take the cut, but then we get to push, and then we played R18. R18, huge endgame move. I wouldn't be surprised that if after this is still probably a bigger move, because now we get no points. Typically the follow-up is to play like this, but white ends up getting 4, 5, 6, 7 points here, and we get like very, very, very little. But after this, when we play here, instead of that 7 points, white doesn't really get anything. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's like almost like a 14-point swing. This is a really, really big move. White peeps, and I decide you can have that one stone. Because remember, guys, peeps are often a trap, and that one was as well. So white blocks, we connect. White does at least take the cut. We connect. And then, yeah, at this point in time, it really is just endgame. Nothing too crazy. This looked like a threat because it looks like black playing here will capture one of these groups of stones, but it doesn't. White could have played away, and white would have been fine. Black would fall short on liberties first, so this was it was very fortunate that our opponent played that for us, but then otherwise we just continue on our end game ways. This move looks like it's not needed, but it is. If we leave this to play somewhere else, let's say we just play here, white can play this move. And if we Atari, white gets this Atari and then plays here and captures those two stones. Actually, white could play here and still capture those two stones. And if we do this, white can play here. This would obviously be a big issue, and this would be a big issue. So we did need to play this move here, and then we continue on and finish this one up. And we'll just skip to the end of the game because nothing too exciting happens from here on out. So we get to here, and black wins by 3.5 points. Really, really close game. This was the closest game I played in the tournament. All the other ones, I mean, it's tough to get closer than 3.5 points. But I was able to exact revenge after the last tournament, so it was a great way to open the tournament, beating a solid 1K player. It felt pretty good. So I was pretty excited about that. So that's where we're going to leave this one. Hopefully you guys will look forward to the next 3 games that we're going to go over. I'll try to get to them fairly quickly. Anyway, as for always, thank you guys for coming out for another Ed and Starbucks where every wheel's meant to triangle. Have a good one, guys.